What is it now?
What can you tell me about the castle?
Nothing. A big, ugly building.
With an overgrown garden.
What have I got to do with that?
Aren't you the gardener?
My garden's a few hundred miles west of here.
In Wales.
That's right.
So you just do the bare minimum here, if at all.
The garden's too big for one man alone, and what's the point in looking after it? This whole place is doomed. The house is falling apart. The lady won't live for much longer, and Bates is as good as dead.
You're hoping that Lady Eleanor will return to Wales when Lady Victoria dies.
Perhaps.
What can you tell me about Lady Eleanor?
If you want to know something about Lady Eleanor, then you better ask Lady Eleanor. She's her own favorite subject.
You mean she's egotistical?
She threw everything away and fled here in a mad rush after Sir Richard died. Who does such a thing?
The castle and the garden in Wales reminded her of her dead husband.
And she should have thought of the family history. You don't just give up an house where generations have lived and worked.
How did her husband die?
He blew himself up, did all kinds of strange experiments. In the last years, he became obsessed with uncovering the secret of what drove Sir William and his sons insane. He hardly left his lab anymore, and collapsed in exhaustion more than once. Her ladyship was very worried.
Bates seems to be very tired.
He's terminally ill. The doctors say it's a miracle he's still alive. But let me tell you, Bates will kick the bucket on the very same day that Lady Victoria dies. Like a dog that follows its master. I think he just finds it unfitting to die before his mistress.
He says he's worked for the Gordons for more than 70 years, and that he knows all their secrets.
I'd believe that at the drop of a hat. No one knows the castle and garden better than him. But when it gets to his own bonce, he's getting forgetful. The loyal soul. That's why they've given him Sally, I think.
Well, see you later.
Not if I see you first.
The best of British technology. At least it used to be. I don't need any more. If I do... The gate must have been replaced a short time ago. The wood still looks new. But I don't think there's anything suspicious about that. An old wooden staircase. Probably leads to the stableman's room. Two little metal pots. Judging by the layer of dust, they're no longer used. No. Lady Victoria's on the phone. Let's see.
I don't know if it's him. Don't we have a photograph?
Young man,
It's not befitting, even for a policeman to eavesdrop behind closed doors.
I didn't mean to. Pardon me. Were they talking about me? But why should Lady Victoria, of all people, cooperate with the Order? She's got more of a reason than anyone else to want to put an end to the curse. Oh, I don't want to disturb Lady Victoria's phone call. The chair looks inviting, but it's too early to have a rest. A large double-winged door. It's no different from the others. It's locked. Why are there only candles burning here? It's locked. An old-fashioned bathtub. Doesn't look uncomfortable, but it would be too small for me. A lion's head. I think the lion was a symbol of immortality in ancient times. What's that got to do with a bathtub? A tap, like any other you might have found in this country 50 years ago. What an effort it must take to keep this old tiled floor so clean. I can imagine Bates checking twice a day to see if any dirt accumulates in the nooks and crannies in the meantime. That is so comfortable. A bench in a bathroom. Jeez. Curtains in the bathroom. Oh well, to each their own. A chandelier in a bathroom. Madness. The door is locked. I'd say something like a knight or a nobleman. And judging by his clothing, he must have been around 100 years ago. He seems somehow familiar. Probably an ancestor of the Gordons. Huh. The plant hasn't been here long. Considering the amount of light it gets, it's not gonna last long either. May I borrow a piece of thread, Lady Eleanor?
Some thread?
Yes, please. About 2 yards?
Certainly. Help yourself.
Thanks. Good. Thread is always useful. I took some of the tear-proof stuff. Stories, adventures, and fairy tales. Dickens, Defoe, Anderson, Jules Verne. These are probably the most modern books in this library. Shakespeare dramas, Shakespeare tragedies, Shakespeare comedies. Ah, poetry by Shakespeare. The Encyclopedia Britannica in at least 3 editions. Will there ever be a bigger reference book? Bibles and religious texts. Some of them look damn valuable. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a handwritten version hidden somewhere here. At its peak, the British Empire encompassed around 1/4 of the entire landmass of the planet, and around 1/3 of its population. The globe is from this period. The ladies probably approve more of this division of the world than the real one. That's the Gordon's family tree, almost the same as the one in Wales. That's the Gordon's family tree, almost the same as the... Huh. It looks as though something's been painted over here at the top, directly above Samuel and Catherine's generation. Unfortunately, it's been painted over. No way you can work out what was written there before. Victoria, would you please tell me what's behind the locked door?
Only an unused wing of the house.
Could I have a quick look in there?
No, unfortunately not. The wing is in danger of collapsing, and that's why it's closed off. For your own sake, keep well away from that wing.
Absolutely. Your domestic help, this Sally...
Ah, have you already met her?
She doesn't really seem to fit in here.
With us old people, do you mean?
She seems to be the exact opposite of Bates.
That's a sharp observation. She embodies everything which is the opposite of Bates. Undisciplined, untidy, unreliable. She gossips.
Perhaps he wanted to demonstrate to you what you have in him.
I know exactly what I have in him. But I also know he's not well. He can no longer care for the house and us old ladies all on his own. I will look for the next domestic help. And it will be someone rather more industrious. Someone who will rarely take the load off Bates.
I'll go and take a bit of a look around.
Of course.
What's behind the closed door over there?
There was a terrible fire here 24 years ago. Samuel's wife, Catherine, lost her life. That wing has been closed off since then. Too many memories, I think.
Did the fire start on the ground floor?
No, on the first floor. The ground floor was mostly spared, as far as I know. But even the rooms below those destroyed in the fire remain closed. Bates and Victoria make sure that no one goes into them.
I see. Was anyone else injured or killed?
One of the cooks was injured. As far as I know, she wanted to help and was badly burned.
You've only been living here a few years, Lady Eleanor?
That's right. I didn't want to live alone in a big house after my husband died.
So you moved in with your relatives in Willow Creek and brought Lewis with you?
Lewis was our gardener in Wales. He is sometimes a bit difficult, but I didn't have the heart to lay him off. I offered him to come with me and look after the garden here.
Which he doesn't seem to do.
Well, he didn't cope very well with having to leave his garden and his home in Wales.
Lewis is here of his own free will. I don't understand why he doesn't give this new life a go.
You are young, Mr. Falk. You don't know what it's like having to leave your home behind you. Lewis's roots are in Wales. A tree withers without roots.
Why doesn't he go back then?
I've suggested it to him. I promised him a small amount of money to start him off. First, I thought he would do it, but then he stayed after all.
Strange.
He's a complicated man. He's been working for me for over 20 years, but I still don't have the feeling that I actually know him. I think he blames me for his unhappiness. He only ever speaks to me if it can't be avoided, and I can see that hate in his eyes.
Tell me about your estate in Wales.
It's a lovely castle. Not as big or old as this one. I haven't been back since we left. I'm afraid it's probably in a terrible condition, and the marsh has probably spread even further. It's terrible. I couldn't stomach seeing our home like that. We had many happy years there.
When did your husband die?
A few years ago, Sir Richard, my husband, was a scientist. He did his experiments in a summer house. I used to joke that he would blow himself up one day. I didn't really believe that that's exactly what would happen.
I'm willing to bet that I was imprisoned in Lady Eleanor's castle. It all fits together perfectly, and the phone call would suggest that it wasn't chosen at random. Did she make her old estate available for the Order to use? What kind of research was Sir Richard doing?
He had very diverse interests. After the tragedy 12 years ago, he was mainly concerned with, well, with blood.
With blood?
He was convinced that the Gordons' blood must somehow be different from that of other people. I think he was looking for a scientific explanation for all of the misery that has accompanied the family for hundreds of years.
A curse in a test tube.
Insanity is hereditary, as you may know. Why not misfortune?
Or the misfortune is only the result of the hallucinations. That explains what Angelina was looking for in Wales. She was hoping that Richard had found out something interesting before he died. I'm going to have another look around. Goodbye, Lady Eleanor.
It's nice to see another face in this house.
The castle is very beautiful, but, well, It's
slowly falling down, you mean? I'm afraid you're right. And it's not the only thing here that's falling down.
How do you mean that?
The Gordon line. We've lived here in this area for centuries and have shaped it like no one else. Our family is going to die out, Mr. Falk. Soon, there won't be any more Gordons. And the worst thing is, I am no longer even sure that this will be a loss.
You mean because of...
Because of the misery for which some of us are responsible. Yes,
I've just realized that if Angelina's right, then this woman is my grandmother. She doesn't seem to know anything about her grandson. Or maybe she does. Her look was somehow strange. I'll go and take a bit of a look around.
Of course.
I don't have anything to ask her at the moment. I'm almost certain there's a secret compartment. I don't think the ladies would be that happy if I were to use a hammer on the stone slab. You'd hear that through the castle. Well, the police would be straight on to me, and then things would get really complicated. The rubber boots were standing in the kitchen. They look pretty clean. They've probably just been cleaned. Newspaper articles about Samuel Gordon's killing spree. An absolute feast for Looks as if the ivy has killed the tree and is now attacking the house. Quite convenient for a burglar, but as long as I'm allowed to roam freely, I'm not gonna start climbing around on the facade. The view would be great from up there. The tower seems to have windows on every side. The guy who built this castle had weird taste. Perhaps it used to be a defense tower and was later converted. Maybe it just looked like that from the beginning. The castle looks really lived in from here. There's light coming from many of the windows. That way leads deeper into the garden. It's all overgrown and fallen apart. I'd be better off staying away.